But one thing that I found after working with a lot of students is that most people need help with grammar and word choice. Those are the big things. It's really like when it comes to writing, it's just you're picking the wrong words, you're using the wrong grammar, and that's probably the biggest deal. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Talking about artificial intelligence, AI, and using that to help improve your writing. And so this is how to improve your literacy score. Now, if you know your literacy score is not just writing, but it's reading and writing. It's this one up here. But we're going to focus on writing for this little lecture about how to improve with AI, and particularly questions like write about the photo, read then write, the writing sample, and even a little bit of the interactive listening, like the last question when you have to summarize the listening. All those will help. This lecture will help answer those questions, okay? Because those you have to write for a little bit of time. So that's what we're going to do. So how do you improve your writing with AI? Well, this is not just how to improve your writing with AI, but also just how to improve your writing in general. It should be a 4-step process, and this is for improving anything really, is you set a goal, you practice, you review, and you make a plan for next time. And you just keep doing that over and over again. That's pretty much the kind of not so secret sauce, but like the kind of secret, I guess, way of improving anything. You have a goal, you practice it, you review it, and you make a plan for the next time. You just follow that process over and over again, and that's how you improve. And why this is kind of important, because most people just practice. So when you set a goal, you have a kind of focus in mind, and when you review, you remember what you've learned. Most people don't do that. Most people only practice. So this is actually not as common and as simple as you think. You might be wondering, what are SMART goals? So it's an acronym, SMART. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. I'll just show you an example to make it really clear. Where'd my example go? There it is. I'll go back to this in a second. So the goal, for example, not SMART, I need to work on my th pronunciation, the TH. That's not and I'm not saying it's not smart like it's a bad goal, just saying that you can make this a much better goal, much smarter goal, a goal that's achievable. By August 1st, Siri, the person on my phone, will understand when I use the tongue twister, thirsty throats find things to drink. That's specific. I have a date, August 1st, and I'm saying exactly what I'm going to do. It's measurable. I can measure it. I can use something like Siri on my smartphone or some type of voice typing, and I can check to see if my speech to text matches. It's achievable. Maybe, August 1st is enough time. I can finish it by August 1st. Relevant. It's important to my life. It's important that I practice my TH pronunciation because I need people to understand me. And timely. I put a date, August 1st. Okay, so that's smart. I put a couple, in the previous slide that I just skipped over, I put a couple of other examples of things that you can set a goal for. This is from the speaking. This is not for writing, but you can use similar, kind of goals in your own writing as well. Like, you're going to use, for example, or first of all, or you're going to use certain vocabulary words. You can set a goal like that. Or you can also do this where you have the checklist. You can check, did you write at least 80 words? Maybe you need to write 100 words. That's a goal. Or you want to start with a strong introduction. You want to restate the main idea. So you can look at this checklist to give you ideas of goals you want to have before you actually start to practice. Okay? So these are important. That's why I'm taking time to talk about this. Goals are pretty important. But one thing that I found after working with a lot of students is that most people need help with grammar and word choice. Those are the big things. It's really like when it comes to writing, it's just you're picking the wrong words, you're using the wrong grammar, and that's probably the biggest deal. After you learn about the kind of structure, after you learn about the time, after you learn about how the Duolingo English Test is graded, after all that stuff's kind of easy to get. Then when you actually start writing and trying to improve, and then you're still not improving your score, that's when it's probably, okay, you need help with grammar, you need help with word choice, and this is where we can use some AI tools to help. Okay, so now in the past, before all this AI stuff, the solution was pretty simple. You work with a teacher, you write essays, you get feedback, the teacher corrects your mistakes, and then you just repeat that process over and over again. And that's what we do at TST Prep. If you still need help with essay evaluations, check us out. I think you'll be able to do it without, but I just wanted to share also that we do it at TST Prep. So when you use AI, one tool that you can use is Grammarly. Now this tool is a paid account. I will tell you at the end if I think you need to pay for a paid account. But I'm going to show you the difference between Grammarly and ChatGPT, because in the past I used Grammarly most of the time and I recommended students pay for it. But now there's ChatGPT, so I wanted to test and see if you can use that for free. And so I'll tell you my results at the end, and you'll see at the end too. So when you're writing practice, you want to find a question bank, step one. Sorry, let me show you what I'm doing here. So you want to find a question bank, and I'm sorry, somebody's calling me. Let me say, okay, not now. Sorry about that. So you want to find a question bank here, and you also want to aim to write at least 3 essays a week. So especially for these read then write questions, 3 essays a week. And then after you type an essay under the test conditions, upload it to Grammarly. So you just basically find an essay, you answer the questions just like you normally would, and then go to Grammarly to check, or ChatGPT, but we'll start with Grammarly, okay? So let's see here. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, so this is Grammarly, looks like this. I have a premium account here, and I'll show you how I use it. And I'm gonna go to Grammarly in a second, but a couple things to keep in mind. Ignore suggestions about personal pronouns. So when you use I, it's gonna tell you not to do that. You can just ignore that. Never use a semicolon. Sometimes they'll recommend that you use a semicolon. Just use a period or a comma. It's kind of a common, some students tend to use semicolons and they start using it wrong, and they're a little complicated to use. So don't worry about using them. And most of the time, good writers don't use semicolons. Accept all other changes, and then you just blindly accept all other changes. So that's the kind of big thing, is that this is what people get caught up with. And so let me go to Grammarly now. So I'm going to exit full screen here. I have Grammarly kind of set up already. Now, one nice thing about Grammarly that you can't do with ChatGPT is you can say what the style is. But since you're just writing for English and kind of academic, you could say academic. Duolingo, do we want to say academic? No, we'll just say general. We'll say knowledgeable. Intent, you're describing something, telling a story. You can just leave this blank, knowledgeable. Yeah, so all this is pretty normal. Okay, now, right now the score is 48. What I want you to do is, I just want you to, so some students, they see all these mistakes and they look through each one and they check the explanation for each one. That's not what I want you to do. What I want you to do instead is, I want you to just blindly accept everything. So just say, okay, rewrite for clarity, and then you're just gonna basically just accept everything. If you see a semicolon here, don't use the semicolon, right? Just use the period, and then, okay, you're just gonna accept, and there's 31 suggestions at once. Yeah, I'm gonna accept all of these, I guess. It's a good idea to check if they're saying I with some of them, but I'm just gonna accept all of them. And yeah, so I'm just gonna keep doing that, and you go through this whole process where you just accept things blindly. You don't look at the explanation, just accept everything, okay? Now, the reason is because when you try to understand all of the notes, usually you get pretty confused. So I want you to not be confused. I want this to be helpful. And so what you do is that you finish this up, you go through all this. I'm not going to go through all this. It'll take just a couple minutes to accept all this. And then I'll copy this text, and then I'll paste it side by side with my original document. Okay, so, and then after I do that, I'll identify 1 to 4 simple goals based on Grammarly's feedback. So look here. On this right side, I have Grammarly's feedback here. Let me highlight this. I have Grammarly's feedback here. On the left side, this is my original. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the difference between my original and this. So what's the difference here? Well, for example, here, comma, and which influences. So they told me not to use and. Okay, so maybe one thing I can learn is that, oh, so this is the question. Some students prefer easier classes. Okay, so anyway, maybe I learned that check when I use and decide if it is better to have a comma followed by which. So maybe instead of and, I should use which. So next time I'll look for that. Another example here. If I see when they want to earn a higher grade is, I see a lot of commas here, a lot of commas. And they kind of broke up my sentence here. They added, for example, when they want to earn a higher grade, and they put they instead of is, and they put a period here instead of a comma, okay? And they added including instead of inclusive. So maybe another thing that I just learned from looking at this is that I'm using commas too much. Avoid using more than 2 commas in one sentence, okay? So next time when I write my essay, I'll make sure I don't have more than 2 commas in a sentence. Be sure to check out the Duolingo English Test Success Course Premium Package. This is for any student who just doesn't want to waste time and really wants to know exactly what to do to get the best possible score on the Duolingo English Test. There's plenty of places to practice on YouTube at the Duolingo English Test site, but this is the place where you learn the tips and tricks and strategies to help you get the best possible score on test day. And for the YouTube audience only, there's a special discount. You have to follow the link in the description below to get it. It's $67, regular price $97. Also comes with study plans, 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month. So no matter what your schedule, there's a schedule that fits you. So check that out, the Duolingo English Test Success Premium Package, only for the YouTube audience, and just follow the link and you'll be there. And then I look here, it looks like I misspelled something. So here, acquire, and acquire is spelled wrong. And then another example where I don't have a period, I am, okay? So let's see here. Yeah, it says I'm, and it says I am here, comma, where there should be a period, okay. So these are some things that I'm making mistakes on, and now I can take some notes about it. I can take a note and say, check if I need a comma or a period. Okay, so next time I'm using commas too much, right? So these are just some goals that I'm noticing. I'm comparing what was changed with what I had originally. So you can see how this can really help you, right? Another thing is that I notice I have can a bit too much. I put can where wrong thing. I put can where I don't need it. And yeah, that's one example. That's another thing that I notice. And so I'll write a note about that as well. And so next time when I go to write, I'm going to think about these things while I'm writing and check if I make the same mistake again. I'm particularly going to pay attention to commas if I'm using too many in one sentence, and also if I can maybe avoid using the word can when I don't need it. So those are some things that I notice from putting it into Grammarly. So you see how this can really help you. Pick at least 3 aspects of your grammar that you would like to improve next time you write an essay. So pick a couple that you would like to improve. Now, let's do a test with ChatGPT, a similar thing. I'm going to put in the chat this prompt, okay? And now, if you're not familiar with ChatGPT, I'll show you how it works quickly, but I'm not an expert. I'm just an English teacher. I played with it a little bit, and I use some of this with students. Students have used this prompt, and it's worked for most of them. This isn't 100% all the time, okay? So you do have to play with this a little bit. I don't work for ChatGPT. I can't answer all your questions, but this one works pretty well as of right now. I'm an English language learner. I'd like to improve my English writing skills. I'm going to submit a sample of my writing. Please provide feedback on my spelling, grammar, and word choice. Okay, so, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let me go to ChatGPT. Now I put this in already actually. Okay, so this is actually all set up. And what you'll notice is that I put my prompt here, right? I put in the essay, same one that we just talked about from the student. And then this is what they gave me back. Now nothing is highlighted, right? So I don't know what changed exactly. I have to look at this deeper. So what I can do is I can copy and paste side by side, just like I did before. Okay? And so some of the things are different. So they didn't put which here like they did in the other one. So that's a little bit different. But a lot of the mistakes are the same. So here the comma, it is, they added an it, okay, when it was just is. they put a period here and started a new sentence on the other hand. So I could still see the same problem with my commas. This word inclusive becomes even if. The word acquire is spelled differently. They got rid of a couple commas here. So again, I have comma problems. They got rid of the word can. So a lot of the same stuff, right? I just have to look a bit closer at it. It doesn't tell me what I did wrong each time. But that's actually the kind of problem with Grammarly for English language learners. Grammarly actually gives you too much information. So ChatGPT, I thought I had to sneeze, but I didn't. So ChatGPT does a great job for English language learners. So I believe the Grammarly paid version is not necessary for Duolingo English test takers and language learners. If you are more kind of, if your writing is a bit more nuanced, then maybe Grammarly is worth the price. But just for this, something free on ChatGPT is great. You don't need Grammarly, okay? So that's the AI tool that I use. That's what I would recommend, and that's how you should use it. Go side by side your writing to what's suggested and see the mistakes. Make a couple notes about what you're doing and try to make sure that you don't do the same mistake next time when you practice. All right, but that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you found that helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.